Hi, I'm Asia with Mutt Magic, and I'm going to go over some of the most common equipment that we use in our group classes. This could apply to other courses that we hold as well, but it's equipment that is generally used that you should be familiar with, whether it's used on your dog or you see it used on somebody else's dog in the group class environment. The purpose of equipment is to gain control without having to use force. So if you find yourself muscling your way through a correction or trying to control your dog, then chances are you probably need training equipment of some kind. The first thing that I want to talk about is a standard collar. If you have a dog that pulls, you want a standard buckle collar that's like a belt buckle, no plastic hardware on them. The plastic is actually designed to break free, so that if a dog gets themselves caught on something, the collar will break and they don't get stuck. So if you have a dog that pulls, chances are that collar is probably going to break, and you should have a buckle that is a metal buckle like a belt. Tags should always go on a flat buckle collar. So if you're using training equipment of any kind, you should have on at least 2 collars, a standard buckle collar as well as the training equipment. Something that most people are familiar with is a choke collar. They've been around for a really long time. What a lot of people don't know is that it does matter how you put them on your dog. So if you notice right now, the collar is releasing when I allow it to. If I flip it over the other direction, it doesn't do that. So when you put it on, if you want your dog walking on the left, you need to put it on in the shape of a capital letter P when the dog is facing you. If you want the dog to walk on the right, you have to put it on the other way. If your dog doesn't know how to walk on the left or the right, this probably isn't the right equipment for you and your dog. In the same category is a Martingale style collar. And it doesn't matter how you put it on your dog because it's going to restrict from both sides so that you can put it on your dog and your dog can walk on either side without a problem. It's a limited choke. Now both of them, this is a check choke or Martingale collar, this is a standard choke collar. They're called that. The purpose of them is not to choke your dog, it's to get a brief correction and then go back to slack so that you can continue working with your animal. If you get control with those, you don't necessarily need anything else. If you find that you're still having to muscle your way through corrections, there's also a prong collar. The prongs sit on top of the skin, and as long as they're not engaged, it just sits there. It functions similar to a Martingale collar in that the chain restricts from both sides, so the dog can be on either side of you no matter how you put it on. Those are the most common pieces of equipment that you're going to see in group classes. In private lessons, we may use remote collars or other equipment. That's something that's a little bit more specialized, so we don't recommend bringing those into group classes if you don't have proper guidance on how to use them. Other things that you may be familiar with or have seen are head collars or halties, no-pull harnesses, things of that nature. For the most part, we don't use them in group classes or in private lessons, with the exception of certain circumstances. For most dogs, they are going to prevent your dog from doing certain behaviors, but they're not going to necessarily teach them what to do. Additionally, although they may be called a gentle leader, there's nothing gentle about a head harness. They're originally designed to guide around 2,000-pound horses. All training equipment has risks associated with it if it's not used properly, including size and fit. Those are known to cause neck injuries, and dogs are also known to be able to get out of them as well. So we prefer to teach the dog with training equipment if it's necessary, and then ultimately graduate them back to a standard collar or off leash if that's your goal. Working towards off-leash work, building distance with your dog, we always recommend, and in group classes you're going to need a standard 20-foot long leash. It's a leash that is 20 feet in length, not a retractable leash, no chain leashes, no cable lines, a standard leash that's 20 feet in length. Until your dog earns the ability to be off leash, you should always have the ability to enforce any commands that you're giving.